Hi, I'm Dave Nicosia, Warning Coordination Meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Binghamton. This video is going to show you that some winter weather is actually on the horizon. It's been an incredibly mild December, and it looks like we're going to have a green Christmas, but winter is lurking. So this December, as I've stated, has been an amazingly mild month, and this is the temperature departures from normal over the last 7 days and across the entire globe. And you can see that across the eastern United States, and this is in Celsius, so we're looking at anywhere from 5 Celsius to as much as 9 Celsius above normal, which translates really to 9 to as much as 15, 16 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. So it's just been amazingly mild in the eastern half of the United States, and some of the biggest departures from normal have really been right over us here in New York State and Pennsylvania. So if we look at what's going on over the last 7 days and why it's been so warm, you can see what we're looking at here is we're looking down the North Pole across the northern hemisphere, and in the purples and blues is where the cold air is, and this is actually the polar vortex. The polar vortex always exists, so it's not, you can still have a polar vortex during a mild winter, but in this image you can see the cold polar air, especially these darker purples, really have been confined to the very high Arctic regions. On the right, this is the departures from normal of this pattern, and you can see that again it's been cold in the west, but again very mild in the east. So this polar vortex is shifted further north than it normally is, and it's actually deeper in the around Siberia towards Greenland, and also a piece of it is broken off in the south of Iceland, and the western United States has actually been seeing some colder than normal conditions. So what's going on if we look at the global sea surface temperature departures from what is considered normal? And again, you'll note we've been talking about this, the whole weather community has been talking about this. Right here in the equator, in the Pacific Ocean, the temperatures are above normal as depicted by the yellow and the up to red. You can see we have above normal water temperatures across the equatorial regions of the central and eastern Pacific, and that is an El Nino. So the El Nino continues to rage in the Pacific Ocean, and that has a big part of why it has been so mild this December and even November for that matter. During El Nino years, we have a very strong jet stream coming off the Pacific, and I'm going to show you an example of this in real time. But we get more Pacific storms and Pacific air. The polar jet stream, which delivers the colder wintry weather that we're more accustomed to, often during some of these stronger El Ninos like this year gets diverted to the north, and indeed that's what we've seen to a very significant extent, so that all this area that tends to be warm actually is spread all the way into the northeast. So one of the things that's pretty interesting even today is it's raining and it's very mild. If we look at the full disk water vapor imagery, this is where the water vapor is in the atmosphere. You can see in the whites and the grays. You'll see this is the equatorial Pacific. There is a lot of thunderstorm activity because the waters are warm there, and all this moisture is streaming north, as you can see, all the way up into the eastern part of the United States. So we are getting this feed right from this El Nino region in the Pacific, which is interesting. And if you look at the national radar imagery, you can see again there's the precipitation going through New York and northern Pennsylvania today, and all this moisture is lagging all the way back. And again, we don't have radar over the Gulf or in Mexico on this, but it goes all the way down into that Pacific region. So it really is affecting us. And again, it's the main reason why it has been so mild this December. But there is some changes on the horizon from the El Nino standpoint and also from the jet stream patterns, and that's what we're going to talk about next. So let's look at the El Nino predictions. When you're in the positive on this graph, that's an El Nino condition, and you can see we're in December we're peaking very high as a strong El Nino, and this is a computer model that forecasts El Nino all the way through January, February, March, April, all the way to July, August, September, and you'll notice that the El Nino is predicted to weaken the rest of this winter and into the summer season. This is a bunch of different models run, and the mean of the models is the dashed line. So you can see this El Nino is peaked, and we believe the water temperatures in the Pacific are now going to start trending downward. But at least for January, we're still going to be in strong El Nino conditions. This is the January 2016 Climate Forecast System model prediction of precipitation relative to normal. And you'll notice that the central equatorial Pacific is going to see tremendously above normal precipitation, meaning a lot of thunderstorm activity. So this is going to continue, but it's going to be a little bit further west than where we've seen it, and because of that, and by January, the jet stream really amplifies, much more so than in December. The jet stream pattern is going to change because of where all these thunderstorms are in the central Pacific, and we believe it is going to shift a little bit further west. So all this high pressure aloft and all this mild conditions may actually shift to the west, and I will show you the implications of that next. So if we look at the upper level weather patterns, again, you can see the blue areas here, and purple is where it's cold. This is the western United States. This is the present. And here's the east. Here's New York and Pennsylvania. And again, this is very mild in these shades of green up to orange. This is the present. So if we go forward in time, and this is valid today, so we'll go forward in time. So you'll notice by tonight, all the way into Christmas, you can see, look at Christmas, I mean, tremendously mild conditions where it's cold in the west, very warm in the east, the same pattern we've seen, you know, as we go to the end of December. Again, we get one of these Pacific storms coming out into Texas, but again, very mild over the northeast. Then we get towards the new year and things start to change. We start seeing more blue. We start seeing what we call a ridge of high pressure starting to build off the northwest coast. And that is a sign of things to change. And also up here, we're starting to see a deepening of cyclone in the Aleutian Islands, and that's also an indicator of potential change. So this is towards the end of the month. We're still mild. So now watch this, how we get into early January, and now this storm and this cold pattern develops over the Aleutian Islands, and meanwhile it becomes warmer than normal in the Pacific Northwest, and we build an upper level ridge, which is where you have warmth, up through western Canada, and meanwhile the air is starting to cool in central Canada, and what ends up happening by early January, look at this, we start building the jet stream, and the high area of high pressure aloft builds across the west instead of over us. So now we get northwest flow, and we open the door to Arctic air masses to start coming down into the northeast, and you'll notice that it's cold now across New York and Pennsylvania in the blue. This is by the 3rd of January. So you can see then that as we get to the 4th and we get to the 5th, you can see that this is a complete reversal of the pattern where it now gets milder than normal in western Canada to the Pacific Northwest, and it's colder than normal from just north of Hudson's Bay on Baffin Island southward to the eastern United States, and this is by the 5th of January. So you can see again, and with this type of pattern, and now we're also seeing some high pressure aloft, which is mild, building over the North Atlantic. And this is the type of pattern where the cold air then now can surge down into the east. And meanwhile, we're still going to start seeing some energy come off the Pacific with moisture. So this could really turn around into a pattern where it gets colder and we see temperatures more typical of early January, even colder than normal, possibly for a little while, but the storminess could continue. And this really could be a turnaround where we actually start seeing some snowstorms. So this is 15 days from now, so this pattern is looking like it's going to come to fruition, but this is where we are right now. Complete opposite. So everything is going to switch, as you can see. And this is one modeling system, but there are two others that are showing a very similar pattern. So by the first week of January, it looks like winter will begin in the Northeast. So in summary, it's going to continue mild for the rest of December. We're going to have a green Christmas. There's, much of the country is, except the West. But colder, more wintry weather, we really think is going to begin the first week of January. And it looks like we could get into a snowstorm pattern here in the Northeast. So, if you're a winter enthusiast, get the skis ready, get your snowmobile ready, your sleds. I think it's going to happen, especially as we get into January.